As far as being a picture maker or an image maker, what always comes first is a picture in my mind. I always see something very definitely inside. I always see it exactly the way I draw it. And the finished product is almost always like I had an opaque projector that was in my head, projecting out through my eyes on the paper, and all I do is trace the picture that I see.
Hello, this is Blake. I'm a comics collector. I collect art. I'm an artist. I like movies. I'm a cinephile. And I do reviews. This is one of my favorite comics from one of my favorite artists, Swamp Thing #1, by the uniquely talented horror illustrator Bernie Wrightson and comics writer Len Wein. Originally passed from this earth in 2017, but left a treasure trove of work behind. Swamp Thing was actually created the year before by Wein and Wrightson in an 8-page story for House of Secrets, #92. And that's Louise Simonson on the cover with the swamp creature. Wrightson had drawn that original story in one weekend with the help of Michael Kaluta, Al Weiss, if that's how you pronounce his name, Jeff Jones, and Wheezy, who was Jones' wife at the time. It proved to be very popular, and a year later, Wrightson and Wein were working on the first solo series featuring the Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing #1 is the story of Alec Holland and his wife, who are both developing a super secret serum in a swampland barn laboratory that will feed the hungry worldwide until some unscrupulous entrepreneur types interrupt their experiments and try to take the serum for themselves. There's also a stray dog. They blow up the barn lab with dynamite, with poor Alec right in the middle of it, and completely on fire and covered with the super fertilizer he had been developing, Holland runs for some sort of relief in the surrounding bio. Since this is a comic book, he doesn't die. Or does he? Wein and Wrightson argued back and forth over this very point, with Wein winning out. He didn't die, but Alan Moore would retcon this little origin detail a decade or so later. So, his wife returns from having just attended Alec's funeral to that same barn that has been rebuilt. There are a number of head scratchers, but that doesn't change the fact that it's very entertaining. That's what the creators had set out to accomplish, tell an entertaining story, which works for me. So, anyway, Miss Holland runs afoul of the very same no-good nicks that killed her husband over that super plant fertilizer. Enter the Swamp Thing, which is what's left of Dr. Holland, who has, because of the super serum, is now a shambling hulk of a plant creature. And that's probably the gist of it all, or gist. How do you pronounce that? Gist or gist? Anyway, the story has some issues, I will admit that. There are some filler details that just waste panels but aren't really important to the story, such as the stray dog that appears and later gets caught in quicksand, and having the villain show up 3 times in the story at the lab seems kind of redundant. The character Cable was probably also unnecessary. They probably could have made this a much tighter and effective story with a rewrite or two, but comics, especially back then, were written, it seems, as fast as possible. It's still enjoyable, but the real star of the show, as everyone knows, is Bernie Wrightson's art. Wrightson used a lot of heavy spot blacks and detailed backgrounds to help give the reader a sense of the swampland location. It's not as intensely detailed as some of his later non-comics work, but that doesn't make this any less cool. You get a sense of the Swamp Thing's lumbering shuffle through the muck in pursuit of his killers. I mean, he really sets a mood, and he illustrates the raw power of this monster with a few feats of strength. He just drew a really good monster. Everybody knows that. And in the end, you get a tease for the next issue's villain, who will end up being Swamp Thing's arch nemesis. It's a great start to the series, definitely giving the reader a reason to come back for more. And that's it for this one. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I hope you come back for more Swamp Thing reviews and other ones. Thanks, and stay well.
You're just one man. Now we're two.
You are awesome. I wish I could afford that Creedence song. Born on a Bayou. It was in the second Swamp Thing movie. At the beginning. It was awesome.